Toronto, the capital of Ontario, is one of the largest Canadian cities. With millions of visitors each year, tourists are drawn to this vibrant city and its many attractions, including the mighty CN Tower, the Rogers Centre, home to the Blue Jays, and of course, its proximity to Niagara Falls. We visited here in the summer of 2024, and here are some things I wish I knew before coming. Number one, it is a much cleaner and calmer version of New York. It has everything you expect from a major city, such as skyscrapers, boat cruises, shops, restaurants, bars, everything you can imagine. But it was so much nicer and cleaner, and the air quality was just so much better. And to be honest, the people were so much friendlier as well. However, with that being said, just don't go to Dundas Square, because that was more like Times Square than anywhere else. That was chaos for a lot of the right reasons, but also some of the wrong reasons. Number two, any route you take to Niagara Falls will be a long day. Whether you go on a guided tour, whether you do a self-guided tour and you drive yourself, trains, buses, however you choose to get there, it's gonna be a long day, so prepare yourself for that. We knew it was going to be a whole day excursion, but I think what surprised us was on the tour that we took, we stopped at Niagara-on-the-Lake, we stopped at a clock, we stopped at the Maple Leaf Factory as well, and by the time we'd done all those stops, we sort of looked at the time and was like, it's been 4 hours and we're still not at Niagara Falls. Now, with that being said, we did have plenty of time when we got there. I think we had just done so much without being at Niagara Falls that we was a little bit shocked at just how long it took. But I think the coming back was actually a lot quicker, but it might have just been because at that point we'd seen the falls, we'd seen the fireworks, we had a belly full of delicious food, and I think we probably just slept the majority of the way back, and obviously the traffic was less as well. If you want to, you can watch my Niagara Falls vlog in my Toronto vlog that is already on my channel. Going to Niagara Falls was honestly a bucket list moment, and I would go back 100%. I really would go back. I want to take everyone there to experience it, because there's not a lot that makes me emotional. I know I'm very lucky to travel. I know that, you know, I'm quite privileged, but I also know that I've worked very hard to travel, and so there's not a lot of places that I've been that make me emotional, because normally, like now I'm in Athens, I know that I've worked to be able to come here, and I'm like, well, yeah, I deserve that. But to be in Niagara Falls, to work hard enough to be able to come and have that experience, when we was on the boat, I was really emotional. I mean, if you've seen the state of me in that video, you probably couldn't tell because my mascara was already down my face, but it was amazing. I want to say it was a once in a lifetime, but if I was to ever go back to Toronto with someone that hasn't been to Niagara, I would 1,000,000% go back and take them, because it was just so fun. You really have to do it. Like, it is magical. Number three, so on our long trip, I mentioned that we stopped at somewhere called Niagara-on-the-Lake. When I tell you, this was one of the cutest places I have ever seen in my life. I'll insert some clips here so you can sort of see what we saw. I'm not gonna lie, it's given me slight Rosewood vibes. Somebody might try to kill me, but I'll take it. That's Pretty Little Liars, where everyone dies. I'm a little bit lost for words. I was not expecting this on the trip. And then these are all like little shops. It is so cute. And again, you can go watch it in my Toronto vlog if you want to. I was really not expecting it. It had like a quaint village, local, a little bit of Pretty Little Liars-esque feel to it. and it was beautiful. There was like church towers, there were shops, everything from a maple leaf company, like big franchise, to little local cafes. There was even Greek restaurants there, which, you know, always has my heart. It was so beautiful. The one downside was with the tour that we went on, you only had 45 minutes, and so we had to prioritize, were we eating or were we shopping? And we prioritized shopping, but then we'd walk past all the restaurants and was like, they all look so nice, and if only we had time to go in there. We also had to factor in a 10-minute walk from the coach into the town, and then the 10-minute walk back as well. So we only ended up with about half an hour. I think we ran into the Christmas shop, and I think that was about it. But yeah, I would 100% go back, and if I was to do it again, I probably would drive myself. You don't need a car in Toronto, but I would get one for that day, drive to Niagara Falls and stop off at Niagara-in-the-Lake for a few hours, and then maybe stay over at the falls, if I'm being honest, so you can see the fireworks, and then you can see it again the next day with like no rush. But yeah, I think Niagara-on-the-Lake is a must visit place. It is beautiful. Number 4, this one is a bit of a negative, I'm sorry, but the airport is a disaster. Now, bear in mind, right, just to put it into perspective, me and my mum had just done a 8-9 hour flight. This was the first place on our 7-stop trip, right, across America and Canada. And we had a rule that we had like a rough guideline budget. Obviously we was away for a lot. I paid for the trip and my mum paid for the spending money. So at that point, all the expenses was on her. So we had to have some sort of budget. And the rule was that if when we was in somewhere like Nashville and the public transport wasn't very good, we'll get an Uber. But when we're somewhere like Toronto, we can get the train into the, you know, the city, because why would we spend so much money on a taxi? However, that airport was just a canon event of crazy things. So we got off the plane, passport control was a nightmare. We had our visas already, we had everything we needed to get into Canada, and still when we got there, there was just this one room that everyone was directed into. No order, no organisation, no staff telling you where to go. And bear in mind, we come on an international flight as well. So all of these workers knew that we came from London and that we had to do like fingerprints, but nobody told us we had to do fingerprints. For us, we'd already done it. We go back and forth to New York and you go up to the screen and you just put your fingers on. There was no signage, nothing. So we got there and we're in this queue. We're sort of just following the crowds, and there's all these machines and we're watching people. But sometimes you're like, maybe that's for the locals, maybe that's like a, you know, a quick exit route for anyone with like a Canadian passport. You know, you're not thinking. We're just in this massive queue. We get near enough the front. This must have been an hour in this queue. And this lovely lady in front of us goes, do you have your piece of paper, like this white little piece of paper? And we were obviously saying, what paper? We had to go all the way back to those machines to do our fingerprints. Not a problem, because you've got to do what you got to do to get in. However, if we had known this, and then we had to get back in that same queue again once it was done, go all the way through. Then I believe there was something with the train as well, like the train wasn't running. And she said to us that we could get a bus. And now don't get me wrong, we will get the train to save money, but a bus is really pushing it. Me and my mum both get like motion sickness with travel. So a bus, it's not a bit of me. It's not a bit of me. And we was already late enough at this point, so we decided to just deal with it, spend the $40–50 that it costs and get the Uber into town. By this point, we'd already been studying a reservation and we was exhausted by the time we got there. And I was just remember praying to myself that this wasn't the start of how our whole journey was gonna go, how our whole trip was gonna go. But yeah, the airport in itself, chaos. Also, with that being said, the train didn't help. So they basically have one airport train. So a little bit like if you go to Gatwick, you can get the Gatwick Express or the Heathrow Express. I suppose it is the same for London. If you're at Gatwick and the Gatwick Express is out, you're a little bit stuck until you get further into London. But yeah, when it's not working, it was chaos. It was absolutely chaos. I felt so bad for the staff that were there because they clearly didn't know what to do either. But give yourself more time. Going back to Toronto now, I would not make a reservation for the first night we got there, just in case there was any issues with the airport, because yeah, we missed it. The next one, I've already kind of touched on this, but don't bother driving when you go into the city, especially if you're just staying in the city. Even the surrounding areas as well, they are all really, really accessible. In general, the public transport was pretty good despite my last point. It was just the airport train. The traffic in Toronto is crazy. Like I said, it is like a New York, it is a big city. The traffic is crazy. And there was a lot of times that me and my mum didn't really know where we were going. And we'd be like, should we just, you know, let me just look it up. See an Uber compared to like walking somewhere, and it might be a half-an-hour walk, but it would have been a 2-hour car journey, and that's how you know the traffic is bad. There's also always like so many road closures. You are in a main city, things get damaged, things get rebuilt. It's not like New York where they work on it during the night and then it's open again in the morning, good to go. It's definitely more like London with the road closures that last forever and no one seems to do anything. But yeah, there's normally a lot of road closures, and the parking is really, really expensive as well, just because it's so limited. Like street parking is really limited, so it's just not really worth it. And to be fair, everything is really, really close in Toronto. You don't really need a car unless you're going further out. And like I said, if I was going further out, whether that was driving across Canada or driving to Niagara Falls, I probably would head back to the airport to get my car, just so I can avoid the whole city in general. You can get a Presto card, that is the word. You can get a Presto card, which will let you on all of the TTC, and that will just take you around on the trains, the subway, buses, streetcars, anything you want. It's all included on there. And I know you can get like weekly passes as well, which if you're, depending how long you're there for, sometimes it's better value for money. Whilst on the topic of the TTC, this is not the subway in New York. If you are gonna ride the TTC, now this should technically go for any place in the world that you're traveling on, but it seems to be easier said than done. Be respectful, be quiet. I've seen some pretty interesting things on the New York subway, and that's coming from someone that just goes as a tourist. I'm not even a local, so I dread to think what actual locals have witnessed on the subway, but it is nothing like the subway. Sit there, headphones in, be respectful, no loud conversations, no music playing out loud, and then everyone will be happy. Everyone just minds their own business. It's calm, it's peaceful. Even in rush hour, it was actually quite pleasant. So yeah, just be mindful of that. The city itself is actually super international. So obviously for me, going to Canada for my first time, I wanted to make the most of all the Canadian food, the delicacies, the local foods, drinks, shops, chains, everything. But even though I was in a big city, I didn't realise just how international it would be. And I just thought that was really, really cool. It was a lot like London, where you had Chinatown, you had little Japantown, Greek town. There was so many different areas. And again, if you do love like walking by foot and exploring, you can go and visit these little areas like you're visiting different neighborhoods. And it was just like a really cool thing to see and experience in like a big city. It was like little town life in a big city, which I always really love. So yeah, with that being said, as delicious as everything Canadian is, don't feel like you have to limit yourself to this sort of thing. I am always on a mission to try Greek food everywhere I go. And sometimes you just need a little bit of Italian. Like I know if I've gone away and I haven't eating like so much food. Sometimes I just need a bowl of pasta to just realign my stomach before we go again. And yeah, there's so many places. Just make the most of it, like while you're there. Eat foods that you might not eat at home. The next one. Now, with this next one, this is something that I seem to forget every time I go anywhere in America. I didn't know for a fact it was going to be the same in Canada until obviously we got there. But it always surprises me. So, when you see a price of something, that is not going to be your final price. When you are shopping, when you are in a restaurant, when you are buying anything, expect genuinely maybe a 13% increase on the price that you see will be the price that you pay. And if that's somewhere like a restaurant, for example, that's not going to include your tip. This is because unlike the UK where tax is included with your price for anything, in America and now in Canada that I've realized, the tax is not included. So just expect that increase on everything. It is really annoying, I'm not gonna lie, because you might see something for $10 and you're like, yeah, I've got that in my purse. And then it's $11.50 and you're like, now I've got to break a 20. But once you know it, you know it. And it's just something to be mindful of, like if you are on a budget and you're budgeting. But with that being said, obviously I can't speak for every, you know, like currency conversion rate, but from the UK to Canada, the conversion rate is genuinely pretty good. Sometimes the Canadian dollars would look quite scary and then we'd convert it into pounds and it'd be pretty good. And then other times we had some really good bargains. I remember we was at Niagara Falls and they have a little gift shop and we went in there and we got a crew neck and it just said Niagara Falls on it and I think it was $40. And I was thinking, standard, you know, like you go to a concert and they're £30–35, hoodies are $50. So I was thinking, yeah, cool, standard. We done the conversion and it was about £25. In London, a cup would be £25. So that was really good. So yeah, don't be put off by the Canadian dollar price if you are coming from the UK, for example, because the conversion rate is pretty good. Next up, this is something I really wish that I did more of. It is to save your appetite for St. Lawrence Market. So me and my mum visited St. Lawrence Market and we did end up getting lunch there, but we didn't really have a big enough appetite for enough food. We sort of got used to the sheer amount of food that we were eating by about Washington, but because Toronto was our first place and last night in Toronto I had a Caesar salad and I couldn't eat it. It was like my body had to get used to like being on meal prep for months to then eating big portions 24/7. But yeah, save your appetite. We had a like salami deli sandwich and we shared it and it was so good. And then there was a bakery and I remember we got some cookies, some cakes. They had like a little deli bit as well. I found dolmades, you know, I had to get them. They were epic, they were so good. And yeah, I think we got some little snacks that we brought home as well. We had to be mindful that we had to get them not only into America but back in the UK and, you know, across 6 different places. I do kind of wish that I had a little bit more of an appetite, even if it meant I sacrificed breakfast. I would have sacrificed my breakfast for more food at St. Lawrence Market. If I was to go again, I would go with a full empty stomach and a lot of room in my jeans. Don't come to Toronto in the winter. It is freezing, literally freezing. We're talking -10 degrees, at least, UK degrees. Do not come in the winter, you won't enjoy it, you won't find it pleasant, and then you'll probably give Toronto a bad rep. You can come in summer because it's not too hot, it's not like Mediterranean climate, you can come in the summer, but the best times to come are probably spring and autumn, as the weather's quite mild and it's not peak tourist season. so it's not crazy busy. And my final tip for you guys when coming to Toronto, leave time to visit the islands. This is something that we didn't do. We actually inquired with a tour, or like an independent tour guide. I'll put the name on the screen because my mum was organising it. They only ended up doing tours on certain days, and unfortunately it just didn't align with our schedule in the end. But at first we were like, oh, that's a shame, but you know, we'll go here, we'll go there. And then we went on a ferry harbour tour and sort of just touched on the islands. We just got that a little bit closer, and they just look really cool, and it's just somewhere that, you know, we were planning to go to and then we didn't. So now I really want to go next time we go back. We was actually saying the other day, me and my mum, that if we went back to Toronto, we probably would skip Niagara Falls and prioritise the islands instead. Obviously if I was to go with somebody that hasn't been, Niagara Falls will be top of the list. But for us, if we were to go back, we would prioritise the islands, just because it's something brand new that we haven't done before. I watched so many videos of the islands just to see like the things you can do. I just think it looks really cool, and I just want to go to it and see and explore. I love going and seeing like the hustle and bustle of city life, but I also like seeing how the locals live in these places I'm visiting as well. So that's definitely going to be on my list for next time. So that is it for my things that I wish I knew before I went to Toronto. If there's any more that you think I missed, or anything that you think I should know, or anyone watching this should know, then comment them down below, because like I said, I really want to go back. So I would love to know what you guys wish you knew, or some things that you think I should know as well. Like I said, if you want to watch my Toronto vlog or any of my USA content, they'll be in a playlist below. I am in Greece right now, so we're filming some more. I've got so many videos coming very soon, so if you want to see them, you can subscribe. I also have TikTok and Instagram, spit it out, both at Georgialoisetravels. And then I also have a blog if you guys want to go read that. They're just more specific reviews. So rather than me sitting here going, hey guys, here is my honest opinion of Macy's in New York, it would be a little bit boring. So I've just kind of put all of that over there on my blog of just reviews. I don't have an upload schedule for that. Some days me and my mum post 20 vlogs in a day, some days we post none. But yeah, all my actual specific reviews will be over there, and that will just be Georgialoisetravels.blog. So yeah, I will see you guys very soon in my next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.